However, Chairman Yu didn't understand what Jinwoo wanted, so their meeting wasn't successful. There were two possibilities: either Jinwoo didn't know how to fix the problem, or he didn't want anything in return for helping. Either way, things were still difficult for Ma Young-kan. I understand. Chairman Yu didn't try to convince Jinwoo to stay any longer. Very well then, Ma Young-kan stood up when Jinwoo did, and called for his assistant, who quickly came into the room. So as soon as Kim entered, he could feel the uncomfortable feeling between Jinwoo and Chairman Yu. His face became serious because this meeting was their last chance. Sir, did you need me? Ma Young-kan nodded slowly. Hunter Sung is leaving, so please walk him home. Oh no. That's okay, Jinwoo politely said. He didn't need a ride and bowed to Chairman Yu and his assistant before getting on the elevator by himself. The elevator quickly went from the top floor to the bottom floor. Jinwoo hadn't noticed before, but the elevator felt really big and empty when he was alone. He sighed. It felt strange to say no to Chairman Yu, because the chairman was like family to a friend Jinwoo cared about a lot. Jinwoo could have been kind and helped the old man, but he didn't know him very well. Jinwoo wasn't sure what kind of person Chairman Yu was, or if he was truly sick. He wondered if the man might have another reason for acting the way he did. The medicine Jinwoo used to help his mother was strong, but there wasn't much of it, so he had to be careful about how he used it. The chairman made him a strange offer, but it wasn't enough to change his mind. Ding! The elevator doors opened on the first floor, and Jinwoo walked out with his hood still up. Jinwoo walked out, and it was different than before. When he'd come with Ma Young-kan, people knew who he was. This time, nobody seemed to recognize him. Some people looked at him strangely, wondering why he was using the special elevator, but Jinwoo ignored them, and kept walking toward the doors. A security guard saw Jinwoo coming and held the door open for him, but Jinwoo stopped when he heard a voice from across the lobby. Here is the newest information about Japan. Jinwoo turned to look. A large TV screen in the lobby had been off when he arrived, but it was now on and showing live pictures from Japan. The screen showed a dungeon had opened, and the disaster was quickly spreading. Jinwoo walked closer to the TV to watch. The news helicopter showed a terrible sight. Huge creatures were knocking down buildings and grabbing people to eat. The soldiers who tried to fight them couldn't win. It was impossible to beat these magical creatures without the help of trained hunters. The number of people who died was thought to be over 1 million. It was a terrible disaster. Jinwoo was shocked. He was seeing news from Japan for the first time. After he left Jinchul to finish up at the dangerous place, he went straight home and fell asleep. Things in Japan were much worse than he thought, and it reminded him of the awful event that happened on Jeju Island 4 years earlier. The good thing about what happened was that it stayed on an island, so it didn't spread to the rest of Korea. But Japan was in big trouble. The country was close to being completely destroyed. Jinwoo's heart started beating faster, and he was getting annoyed. The idea of those creatures eating people made him feel sick. Wait a minute, Jinwoo was surprised by his own thought. Had he just called them weak? He had never battled these huge creatures before and couldn't sense their magical power on television. He thought the giants were weaker than him. Was he too sure of himself? Jinwoo moved his head back and forth, trying to think clearly. There was too much happening all at once. He turned around, walked past the concerned workers watching the news on TV, and quickly left the building. It was the second day that monsters had appeared, and everyone in the world was watching Japan. What was the plan to help? Was there still a chance for Japan to recover? Would the United States get involved? Would these powerful creatures travel across the ocean and attack other countries after they finished in Japan? People became more worried as Japan struggled. Even those who disliked Japan felt some sympathy, though their feelings might not have been sincere. But Japan didn't need people to feel sorry for them. They needed real help, and the strength to fight the magical beasts. As the United States waited to make an official announcement, news reports showed that a large part of Japan had been destroyed. Television showed videos of people leaving their homes and crowding onto roads, trying to escape to safer areas. These people were trying to reach the edge of the country, but they would eventually reach a point where there was nowhere else to go. More and more people wondered what was happening, and asked difficult questions. Why wasn't Korea helping Japan? Why weren't they showing kindness and support? Just a few weeks earlier there had been a problem on Jeju Island. Japan had lost many of their best hunters because of this problem, so people wondered why Korea hadn't helped. As more and more hunters died, People became very sad and angry. More people began to feel sorry for Japan, and they started to criticize Korea for not offering support. People urged Korea to act. Some asked if Korea had forgotten the help Japan had given them in the past, specifically mentioning an island called Jeju. This situation became a big topic of discussion around the world. To make things even worse, people started to wonder why Japan seemed happy to ask many countries for help, but not Korea. Then on the third day, President Go decided it was time to talk to the news reporters. He looked at all the reporters and cameras in the room and spoke calmly. First, I want to express our sadness for the people of Japan during this difficult time. Now let me explain what the Hunters Association of Korea thinks. Before Korea held its press conference, the Hunter Command Center also announced what they would do. In the meeting room at the Hunter Command Center, the United States spoke about the dungeon break for the first time. Hunters are gathering right now. Was the United States finally going to help Japan? The large group of reporters clapped and cheered as if they were the ones being saved, because they didn't want all the terrible things that would happen if they weren't there. But as the room became more excited, the speakers shook their head. No, this isn't about Japan. The reporters whispered to each other and looked around confused. No one knew this was coming, so they looked at each other for answers. The person speaking pointed to the large screen behind them. Wow! Oh no! The reporters were very surprised by what they saw on the screen. The room became very quiet, though some quiet sounds could still be heard. The video they were showing was surprising. This gate was found today in Maryland. Even though it was smaller than the one in Japan, the gate was still very large. The speaker explained that a gate size didn't always mean it led to a difficult dungeon, but bigger gates usually did. The team studying the gate said it was very dangerous, just like the one in Japan. Our best hunters will try their hardest to complete the dungeon. Reporters looked upset, covering their faces, shaking their heads, and making sad noises. It was very unusual for two extremely dangerous areas to open up at almost the same time. Luckily, the United States wasn't worried because they had many powerful hunters from all over the world ready to handle the situation. These hunters were experts at dealing with dangerous threats. This was very bad news for Japan. The United States did not have enough strength to help. When people in Japan learned that the help they really needed wasn't coming, they became very upset. It seemed like it was the end. Huge magical creatures destroyed everything as they moved south, and the people who ran away north were quickly running out of places to go. This was what was happening when Korea held a news conference. President Go said that Korea would not get involved in what was happening in Japan. The day before the news conference, only two people, Jinwoo and Jinhyo, were in the large office of the Ajin Guild. Jinhyo's eyes were shining with excitement. Chief, there's a difficult monster gate. Should I go check it out? Is that gate in the area controlled by the Hunters Guild? Let me see. Oh, yes it is, Chief. No, I don't think we should. We'll skip it. Oh, okay. The Hunters Guild was already very busy dealing with problems after losing several of their best hunters. Trying to unfairly book the entrance wouldn't seem right. Genju turned to Jinwoo. Boss, what have you been looking at so carefully? Jinwoo looked away from the computer screen and relaxed in his chair.
Hi Jinhyo. Yes, boss.
Should I travel to Japan? Genju was surprised. He knew exactly who he was talking to. He had watched Jinwoo fight many times, more than anyone else. But fighting against very powerful monsters, called S-rank gates, was different. It was hard to know what to expect, because these monsters were so strong. Just like some hunters are more powerful than others, it was impossible to predict how dangerous the monsters coming from these powerful gates would be. Jinhyo couldn't ignore what his boss had said. He looked at Jinwoo's computer screen. It was full of news about a problem with the dungeons. So that's why his boss was worried. Jinwoo was very powerful, and being that strong was causing him a lot of stress. Just a minute, boss. Jinhyo knew it sounded like a simple question, but he was taking it very seriously. He stood up and took a scrapbook from a cabinet. He opened it and showed a lot of printed papers and newspaper articles. What is this? They were all stories about Jinwoo. There was information about the Red Gate event, which the news still didn't know Jinwoo was part of, the Jeju Island mission, the traffic problem he fixed, and even his recent work with the Hunters Guild and the stone statues. Jinwoo just stared in surprise. You've been keeping things like this? Yes, sir. Jinhyo's face turned a little red. But why are you showing me these now? Do you know what all these articles are about, sir? Well, it was clear, they all mentioned Jinwoo, but Jinyo wasn't pointing that out. Jinyo spoke very softly. I'm not on any of those lists, sir. If it weren't for his really good hearing, Jinwoo wouldn't have been able to hear the words. What? Jinyo looked up and met Jinwoo's eyes, sir. If you go to Japan, please let me come with you. Jinwoo was very surprised. Jinwoo thought Jinyo would either try to stop him or tell him to go ahead. He didn't expect Jinyo to ask to come along. But Jinyo was being very sincere. It's a little embarrassing to say, but you make me proud, boss. You're the only thing I have to brag about. But Jinwoo stopped speaking. Jinyo seemed like he had everything he could want, but his money and possessions didn't really make him happy. They were more of a worry than something to be proud of. Meeting Jinwoo and starting the Ajin Guild was all Jinhyo's own doing. Jinwoo knew why Jinhyo felt so strongly about it. That's why I want to be with you, boss. Please let me come along. Do you know where I am going? Jinhyo might have been a little inexperienced, but even he knew what was happening in Japan. It was a terrible situation, like a nightmare, where powerful people were making decisions for the whole country. Even so, Jinhyo nodded firmly. As long as you stay safe, I will be okay. And if you get hurt, I don't even want to think about that. His large shining eyes were full of strong trust that made Jinwoo feel good inside. He gently messed up the other man's hair. Jinhyo was surprised but didn't move. Boss? I was just kidding. Why would I travel to Japan right now? Jinwoo stood up. Let's finish up for today. You all did a good job. What? Are you leaving now, sir? Jinwoo said as he waved goodbye. Jinho bowed low. I'll see you tomorrow, sir. Jinwoo went into his apartment. He could smell his mother's cooking, and it made him hungry. He paused to enjoy the smell. It smelled so good. The best thing about his mother being home was having someone to greet him when he came home. The house didn't seem dark and lonely anymore. Is that you, son? Kyung-gi called from the kitchen.
Yes, Mom. Jinwoo quickly took off his shoes and went to her.
He smiled at his mother. I'm home. You haven't eaten yet.
Have you? Oh. What about Gina? She said she wasn't hungry. Jinwoo stopped getting a chair.
Again, she didn't sleep well last night, so she just fell asleep now. Jinwoo quietly opened the door to Gina's room. His sister was moving around a lot while she slept. Even though she still seemed cheerful, it was clear she was still upset about what happened. He knew she had been through a lot. Every time he saw his sister struggling, he felt very angry, and hated the monsters even more. Why were these creatures so determined to attack people? He suddenly remembered the silver soldiers who had defeated the monsters before. It was a huge army, and they seemed to feel just as much anger. Could they be real? Maybe they could help us. When two groups are fighting, sometimes they become allies. Jinwoo looked at his sister for a moment, then closed the door. Later, thank you for dinner, Mom. After eating, Jinwoo went to the Hunters Association gym to exercise. Putting a guard there was helpful. When he felt overwhelmed with too many thoughts, exercise was the best way to feel better. It had been a long time since he had really pushed himself. He called for Baru. He stretched a little, and the old ant king knelt and bowed to him. My king Baru was the strongest soldier in Jinwoo's army, and maybe could fight against him. But even Baru was scared, because he could feel that Jinwoo was much more powerful now. Congratulations, my king. I can tell you've gotten much stronger. The huge amount of magical energy coming from the Black Heart made Baru shiver, and he was shaking. But Jinwoo didn't create his warrior to brag about how powerful he was. He signaled for Baru to stand. Baru looked confused by the worry on Jinwoo's face. A look she hadn't seen since she joined his group. Jinwoo spoke quietly. You need to attack me with all your strength. My lord, I wouldn't dream of it. It's okay. I want to get really strong, and you're the only one who can help me. I am very. Then Jinwoo looked at Baru with a questioning look, as he started to kneel to show his thanks. You're using bigger words. That's good. Did you eat a person? Baru stepped back, so Jinwoo stopped asking. He made fists and told Baru again, do what you have to do. Yes, as you wish, your highness. Baru lifted his head, and extended his claws. Scrathsapa. He extended his claws but knew they wouldn't hurt Jinwoo. The hunter smiled and nodded with satisfaction. Scrass, with a loud roar that shook the gym. Baru leaped at him. Bam! Baru crashed to the floor and landed on his back. Baru had lost every single one of his 127 fights. He tried his hardest, but couldn't even make a dent in Jinwoo's defenses. In just a few days, Jinwoo had become much more powerful. Baru felt even more respect for his king, and was very loyal to him. Baru had trouble sitting up as Jinwoo sat down next to him. A little sweat appeared on the man's forehead, and that was all the ant could manage. Pushing any harder would have caused the building to fall around them. Jinwoo sat quietly on the floor, looking off into the distance. Baru carefully rested on his knees. "My king, are you worried about something?" "Worried? We can feel what you feel. My king, when you're upset, we hurt too." Jinwoo was surprised to be comforted by a shadow soldier. And this wasn't just any soldier, it used to be an insect. He couldn't help but smile. Usually he would ignore Baru when she worried, but he couldn't do that now. "I want to do something, but I'm not sure how to start." What was happening in Japan didn't seem like his problem, and he didn't know what dangers might be waiting for him there. He also knew he couldn't solve every problem in the world alone. There were also tricky relationships between the Hunters Association of Korea and the Hunters Association of Japan. Just thinking about it all made his head hurt. Baru quickly looked up. My king. Jinwoo was surprised. It was the first time he'd heard Baru sound so upset, since Baru became a shadow soldier. Nothing should stop the king. Baru spoke with strong belief, and he sounded like a close friend instead of a magical creature turned shadow soldier. Someone who does what they want, that person is a true king. That's why I told you I'm not a king. The title Shadow Monarch was just a name the system gave him. Baru didn't agree. "With all respect, you have enough power to do anything you want, my king." Jinwee's eyes got bigger. His heart beat faster for some reason. "You are a king, without a doubt," Baru said again. Jinwee couldn't calm down. His heart was racing. "Whatever I want to do." When he looked ahead, his eyes were very cold. The next day, after the United States made a statement, President Go announced what the Hunters Association of Korea thought about the situation in Japan. Korea will not get involved with what is happening in Japan. Cameras flashed quickly. President Go then explained in detail what the Japanese hunters were planning to stop the attack on Jeolluk Island. The proof he showed was impossible to deny. It included a video from a security camera of Shigeo Matsumoto, the leader of the Hunters Association of Japan, angrily shouting at President Go, and explaining his bad plans. The Japanese reporters, who had been hoping Korea would help Japan, were very upset. The reporters lowered their cameras, their arms falling to their sides. The Americans had just said they would not help a few moments before, and the difficult news from the Korean president was the final disappointment. Tears began to form in their eyes. "That is everything I want to say." President Go finished speaking. Usually, he would have many questions from reporters at this point in a press conference, but everyone in the room was too shocked to speak after hearing his surprising news. The reporters watching on TV were shocked as people began to understand why Korea hadn't said anything about the terrible events happening in the country next door. President Go was walking away, but he stopped and turned back to speak. This decision was made only by the Hunters Association. "We will not stop anyone who wants to try to fix this problem." What did the president mean? The reporters were starting to wake up and think about his words. He said there was someone who wanted to fight the giants. Everyone wondered who that person could be. Who would want to travel to Japan alone given what was happening? The room became very excited as even the Japanese reporters who were crying started to lift their cameras again. "Please, please." They began to feel hopeful again. One of the Korean reporters raised his hand, and President Go chose him to speak. The reporter quickly asked his question, worried he might not get another chance. "Who is this hunter?" Everyone looked at President Go. He paused for a moment before speaking very close to the microphone. "Hunter Jinwoo Sung." Flash, flash, flash. Those three words were followed by many camera flashes,